What is going on, nerds and nerdettes? It's your boy Stevie B with a little bit of that variant content. We haven't done a lot of variant content lately, but my boy Tim, the comic collector, threw the gauntlet down on Instagram and challenged a few of us to show our top 5 books in our collection. Now, that's a hard one. That is a tough one, man, because there's so many books in my collection that I just absolutely love, but for different reasons. And to narrow it down to 5 books just seemed like an impossible task. So here's what I've done. I have narrowed down my top 5 books by categories, by 3 categories. I divided them into 3 categories, and I've got 5 books in each category that are my faves for those reasons. And so what should we start out? We should start off with my favorite stories, my 5 favorite storylines. And first off, and at number 5 on the list, we'll count them down, would have to probably be The Killing Joke, which you can see up here on my wall right there. Or maybe you can't. Yeah, you can. There it is. Yeah. It's hard for me to see. That ring light's kind of glaring on me. But The Killing Joke. The reason being is I feel like that storyline right there kind of cemented the Joker as just an evil. He was no longer comic relief, and he was no longer to be brushed aside as just some nutty clown. He was actually a psychopath, and I think that was probably the first time DC really ever went like uber dark on a character, and they wanted to emphasize that how twisted and demented the Joker was, and reinvent him as such. And that book, I feel like, did a great job of doing that. Next up, I would have to go with this series was Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, Frank Miller. This storyline here, which I have all 5 parts, just absolutely reinvented Daredevil. I think that really established Daredevil as a character he is today. I think Frank Miller, his retelling of Daredevil's origin and stuff like that, I basically from that point on, that was Daredevil. I think he basically, how do I say it? He basically set the tone for what the character of Daredevil would be from that point on. And I think it's a milestone, one hell of a milestone epic story, and it was fantastic. Nobody wrote or even drew Daredevil, I don't think, like Frank Miller did. And next, that was what did I say? That was number 4 in my top 5. Number 3 in my top 5 will probably go down as one of the best Batman stories ever told, and that was Death in the Family. One of the best written stories ever. Again, cemented the Joker as an absolute psychopath. But this one was, the death of Jason Todd, in which they had sent out, when they introduced Jason Todd, people kind of grumbled. They didn't like him. They sent out a voting ballot for the fans to vote on whether or not Jason Todd should die or should live in this storyline. And the fans went, kill him. Of course, nobody ever dies in DC Comics. Of course, he's still running around. But that was number 3, my top 5 stories. Number 2. How could you not include this? And that was the Crisis on Infinite Earths. Basically redefined the DC universe the first time. When the first time they really rebooted it and started from scratch. But of course I've got all of them. So many first appearances in there. The Anti-Monitor, Lady Quark, Dr. Light, Lord Volt. The second appearance of John Constantine. The deaths of Barry Allen, which of course didn't stay dead. Death of Supergirl. Guy Gardner became a Green Lantern in this storyline. Starman died. I mean, there was so much going on to reestablish the DC universe. Historic event. But that was number 2. Number 1 for my all-time best favorite story in comic books, and y'all might be a little surprised with all the iconic storylines out there. I mean, Dark Knight Returns. I mean stuff like that. You might be surprised that I picked this one, but this one was an unprecedented historic event that I don't know that they could ever recapture again, and it'll go down in history as one of the biggest events in comic book history, in my opinion. And I'm talking about, and plus it was just absolutely a blast to read. And I'm talking about DC versus Marvel. The DC versus Marvel universe. Everybody, there's 4 parts of the main storyline, but these 4 parts were the main storyline. But then you had All Access, the 4-part All Access storyline, and then you also had the 4-part Unlimited Access storyline. So I went all in. And then after this storyline was over, they went even further and developed an amalgam universe where these characters had combined and taken on a form of their own, which is a combination of the Marvel character and the DC characters. The popular ones were Dark Claw, which was a Wolverine, Batman amalgam, Super Soldier, Superman, and Captain America. And of course, the one that's hot right now was Spider-Man and Superboy combined to become Spider-Boy. Yeah, why that book is kind of blowing up, I'm not really sure, because it's not really even the same thing. It's kind of dumb that book's blowing up, but it's a cool book either way. But that is my number 1 favorite story of all time from comic books. I know y'all are going, oh my God, really, Steve? So many historic, but I loved it. I've read it 5-6 times. Just can't get enough of it. All right. And next category is my favorite covers of all time. And I've done this before, so y'all might kind of know what's coming, but I've acquired a few more books since then, so my orders might have changed. My top ones probably have not, but first up, this was hard. This was really hard because there are so many iconic covers that I could have included in here, but there were just a few that I just stand out for me that I really liked. Once again, as I told you, Frank Miller, I think, redefined Daredevil and made him relevant back again. And so I had to include number 5, Daredevil, this Frank Miller cover, Daredevil number 184, I forgot the number. This iconic Frank Miller cover, Daredevil with the gun, no more Mr. Nice Guy. That yellow background, just love it. Number 4, one of my favorite covers. Every time I see one of these, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are the same way, you can't help but to grab it. If you see one at a reasonable price, you can't help but to grab it. It's a first appearance, but it's that cover. The cover is just absolutely one of my favorites. And that's ASM 375. First appearance of Anne Weying, who becomes She-Venom. I think this is kind of calmed the hell down. It's not that much. You could probably pick this book up for relatively cheap now. And if I see them, I grab them. I love them. Love it, love it. But number 3 on my list, probably the most homaged cover of all time. And you already know it. As soon as I said that, everybody went, Spider-Man #1. Of course, you have to have a copy. That is probably one of the greatest Spider-Man covers ever, which is why it's homaged to death. I mean, you cannot pick up. There is not. Well, I can't think of any comic book series that hasn't homaged this cover at least at one point or another. The Image does it, DC does it, Marvel does it. All the indies do it. But it's iconic. It'll always be iconic. And this is an inexpensive book for something that is such an iconic book. So go pick them up. And this is also key. It's the first time McFarlane's wrote for Spider-Man, so it's a pretty decent key. All right, number 2 on my list, and this one you've seen before. Probably probably the most iconic cover for this series. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. How did I do that? I'm not going to dig it back. I'm not going to dig it back out. I actually grabbed the wrong book. Oh my gosh. And it's not on my wall. I don't have it in there. So I'm going to put a graphic up here. I grabbed Green Lantern 48. I meant to grab Green Lantern 49. That demonic grin on his face. I mean, that is an iconic cover. I can't believe I didn't realize I did this till I started filming. But I'm not gonna. I'm a one take kind of guy. I don't edit. I screw up. You see me in all my glory when I screw up. And I screwed up. I meant to get 140. I meant to grab number 49, and I grabbed the one in front of it instead, and then put it in my pile. But also a cool cover, 48. But 49. Green Lantern 49 was probably the most iconic cover ever for any Green Lantern title. So, but I'm glad I could put a picture up there for you. Anyway, and my favorite cover of all time is a modern book, not that old, maybe 3 years, I think. But this cover is so gorgeous and so well done that I just absolutely love it. It has held its value. It's still a decently priced book. I think around the $50 mark. So, and it's not very easy to get a hold of one of these. The Virgin variant, anyway. There's some trade dress variants, out there, but the Virgin is a little tougher to get. But that's Justice League versus Suicide Squad #1. With this Lee Bermejo, that's 2017. Wow, this thing is older than I thought. So it's been out there for about 6 years. I thought it was, but this gorgeous Lee Bermejo, Wonder Woman just curb stomping Harley Quinn. I mean, that is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen. And it still remains today my absolute favorite cover ever. I mean, it is gorgeous. So, there you have it. Those are my top 5 books for covers. Top 5 covers. And last but not least, my top 5 key books, favorite key books. Most of them are on the wall there, so what I'll do is I'll point them out on the wall, and you can see them there. And I'll put a graphic up here so you can see them closer. If you don't know what they look like, most of y'all probably know what they look like, but oh well. First up, I will go with is Daredevil number 168. Oops, it's on my Marvel side. Let's see. Yeah, right there. It's hard to see in here, but you can see that I have it. You can see that I have it. I put the graphic up there. That one is one of my favorite keys because it is the first appearance of Elektra, and it was one that was on my bucket list that I worked really hard, saved really hard to finally get, and I was excited to get it. So that is number 5. Number 4 will be my Teen Titans number 1. Yeah, right there. And we'll put the graphic up. But the first solo title for the new Teen Titans. Another one. I'm a big Teen Titans fan, so I was ecstatic to get it, but not as ecstatic as I was to get this one. Boom. DC Comics presents number 26, the very first appearance of the new Teen Titans. That was a huge key. It took me a lot of scrimping and saving before I could pull the trigger on that. And I know some of you are going, well, it's not that expensive. To a poor schmo working the gas station's graveyard shift, that's an expensive book. So then number 2 is not on my wall yet because I'm out of Gator Guards. It's hence the big blank space in here on my DC side. I'm just out of Gator Guards. It's not because DC didn't have any keys, as you can see. Got quite a few. But number 2 on my list was another one that I really wanted really bad and had to kind of scrimp and save for it and wait for the opportunity to come up. And that is Forever People number 1, first appearance, Darkseid. So I was really ecstatic to get that one. And it was one of my grails that I wanted, and I saved and scrimped and finally got a hold of it. But last but not least, my battery is about to run dead, so I need to get it through here. Last but not least, on the wall again, my favorite key, ASM 300. Thank you, Foo, for that one. It was a gift from Foo for Christmas. Absolutely love it. It's my favorite key, my favorite grail. And I was so ecstatic to open it and get it, so I thank him. But anyway, that is going to do it. That is my top 5 list. Appreciate you, Tim, for throwing that challenge out. It's a lot of fun to do and go through my books again. So check Tim out on YouTube, Tim the Comic Collector, and on Instagram. But my battery is just about to drop. I got 3%, so I got to sign off here. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share. Do all those YouTube things we like. And that's going to do it for this one. We will see you in the next one. Peace.
This is a pretty hardcore origin story.
It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna figure it out.
Were you followed?
No, I don't think so.